Hi, everyone. Thank you for joining us to learn about the aACE plus ReadyCloud ReadyShipper integration. My name is Caitlin Nasher, and I'm the Director of Sales and Marketing at aACE Software. And today you'll be hearing from our guest, Brandon Batchelor, the Director of Sales and Partnerships at ReadyCloud, alongside Brian Voll, Director of Product Development here at aACE Software. Before we get started, I'd like to give you an overview of how we typically conduct these webinars. This webinar is being recorded, and after the meeting, we'll send you a link so you can download the recording. All participants are muted, but if you'd like to ask a question about what you're seeing, you can do so at any time using the Q&A button at the bottom of your screen. And with that, I'd like to turn the microphone over to our presenters. Brian Voll will be up first with a short introduction. Brian, take it away.
Great, thanks, Caitlin. Before handing it off to Brandon, I do want to give a little context for what we're going to be seeing today. For anybody who's attended my shipping webinar, and if you haven't seen that webinar, I'm giving that next week, so go ahead and sign up. You do know that in that demo, I create orders, push the order details to the pick app so your warehouse employees can pick and pack the order. But then I barely mention the ReadyShipper integration before I move into markups and invoicing and things like that. The reason I gloss over that ReadyShipper integration is because, frankly, I'm not a ReadyShipper expert. Today, though, we do have a ReadyShipper expert to show us all those bells and whistles. So that's what you should expect during this webinar is primarily that ReadyShipper demo and how that workflow works. For today's webinar, I'm going to hold off on the aACE end of the shipping workflow. Again, you can sign up for next week's shipping webinar to see all of that, but we want to focus on the ReadyShipper workflow. So in anticipation of that, I just queued up a bunch of orders in aACE and I transmitted them to ReadyCloud. So what I just want to do is take about 10 seconds to show you my screen before we hand it off to Brandon to take a look at those records. Okay, so Caitlin, can you see my screen?
Yes, I can.
Okay, great. So I loaded up a bunch of orders, those generated shipments. We'll see that workflow next week. But for now, we're just going to deal with these 29 or so shipments. It might be 28. I don't remember what we might have had last week. But you can see this column, they're all transmitted, except for this one, which is a holdover from some testing earlier today. Tracking information is empty. Courier service we've got loaded up as standard, expedited. Cost is 0. Now I'm pointing out those things in particular because Brandon's going to point those out when he shows ReadyShipper. When he's finished, we're going to jump back into aACE just so we can see all this data populated. That'll just take another 10 seconds at the end. But with that, I'm going to hand it off to Brandon. So Brandon, take it away.
Perfect. Thanks, Brian. I appreciate it. I will go ahead and I'll grab the screen here.
Great, and I can see your screen.
All right, perfect. All right, so first off, I really appreciate everybody that came today to spend some time with myself and Brian and Caitlin. And as Brian set me up for, what I'm going to do is I'm really going to take you through ReadyCloud. Now, in addition to ReadyShipper. Now, just to give you a little bit of background on ReadyCloud, if you're not familiar, ReadyCloud has actually been a company for about 2 decades now. To tell you how long we've been in the shipping industry, we were actually the first person to ever connect up to Stamp's API. I think we were like 26 with UPS. And the only reason that I really tell you that is because with e-commerce getting 5 years ahead of schedule over the past year, we've seen a lot of people enter the space. And a lot of people have entered the space, got tons of funding, and essentially tried to do things like make shipping software, returns software, anything like that. So I always like to give a little bit of background here just so that you know the person who's on this webinar has been doing this for quite some time. Now, if you've ever heard of the company called TrueShip, that's actually where we came from. We rebranded about 4 or 5 years ago at this point, and the reason we did so is because we wanted to do more than just shipping software, which was really what TrueShip's bread and butter was. What ended up happening is we just realized that all of the information that was stored in the shipping software was really valuable, but it was all stuck in the back office or in the warehouse with somebody whose sole job was to go into the warehouse get the items and get them shipped out into their boxes and get them shipped out as quick as possible, which is where the idea of ReadyCloud came from, which is what you're currently seeing on your screen. Now, ReadyCloud Suite is a three-pronged setup. So the first one is ReadyCloud, which is really going to act as the quarterback for all of your data. This will be where all of your integrations take place, everything along those lines, and I'll show you that here in just a second. The second prong to that fork is ReadyShipper, which is the shipping software really designed to be able to ship out your packages or print your labels as quick as possible. And then the third aspect, which we're not going to get into today, is ReadyReturns. Easiest way to think about that is it adds Amazon-like returns directly to the pages of your website in approximately an hour from connection to getting your rules in place and getting that live on the site. But to really dive into ReadyCloud, the first thing that will happen is we'll come down to the App Store. Now, inside of the App Store is where you're going to do things like add ReadyShipper, get ReadyReturns. If you need anything pulled in by Zapier, many of the main integrations and shopping carts can be connected up right here as well. Everything from your Amazons and eBays and Walmarts, anything along those lines, all the way down to your individual shopping carts, like Magento, Shopify, Big, things of that nature. Now, once we sync these up, within a matter of seconds, we're going to start pulling in some orders here. My apologies, I got a few different views. Now, these views that you actually just saw me change are going to be really important when we get to the shipping flow for some of the people who have, we'll say, more complex shipments. So these filters allow you to make different filters for whatever your situation is. Maybe you just want to see your most recent first. Maybe you have some pre-orders that you need to actually put on hold and then be able to batch those out when those items come in. Maybe you want to sort it by the source, where it's coming in from, a particular product, whether it's by SKUs, by a product description. Maybe you just want to see all of your orders that are currently unfulfilled. If you have reasons to route items from different vendors, international, Square, you just want to see your returns, you'll be able to make many different filters, and really, those filters are made like this. You'll come over here, you'll add in kind of if-then statements on if a SKU equals this and the pick location is this, or however you want to do it. But really, we can customize these filters based off of whatever makes the most sense to you so that you can batch print your products out as quick as possible. Now, the other thing we can do here is we can also add different visible fields. With these visible fields, it allows you to customize this based off of who you are and what your role is in the organization. So, for example, if you're on the customer service team, then maybe you just need to see if this product's been delivered or if it's been shipped and not delivered, when it was delivered, anything along those lines. But maybe from the warehouse side, you want to know what the weight is, how it went out, the shipping status, the method, etc. Then you can easily just apply those, and you'll be able to see that we add in whatever visible fields we sent there. Just going to go ahead and take that back off. But I'll take a quick second and make sure that there haven't been any questions put in the Q&A yet. If you have any questions about this, please once again feel free to go ahead and put those into the Q&A. I do have it up so I can get those addressed as well. But as we actually build out the orders, we're also going to build out contacts. So on the contacts, what that really does is that gives you a 360-degree view of that customer. Now, with that customer, you can look and see how many orders they had, how many returns they had. And just like you can do on an order, you can drill down into that customer and actually do things like put notes on the customer. So you can do this on the actual order, or you can do this on the actual contact for that customer. You can also drill down on the order and see all of your order details, where it came from, how it went out, what's in the box, what the price was. If there's SKUs associated with them, you'll see those SKUs there. You can drill down on that timeline, and depending on how granular you really want to get, we'll tell you absolutely everything that was done. As I ship the orders out, I'll come back and show you these to where we'll have a tracking number in here. We'll post back to this timeline. We'll actually build this timeline out here, including absolutely everything associated with that shipment. So did it hit the most recent UPS hub? Is it out for delivery? Has it been delivered? You'll actually be able to see this built out. So I'll come back to the orders after I ship them just so you can see everything. And the last thing that I'll really touch on before I go into the shipping software is we have action alerts. Now, what action alerts does is it allows you to send out emails or text messages based off of a number of different trigger types. So you can come in and you can do something along the lines of, hey, first name. So you have some different fields here, and I won't go too far into this, but essentially you can use these different tags here to be able to put in specific information, whether it's tracking number, anything along those lines for your customers. And then we can actually send this out upon you order. So thanks for your order. Here's your tracking confirmation. Your order's at your doorstep. And we can even do follow-ups. Depending on what your product is, maybe it's something that's consumable. So you want to send a note out to the customer via text or email saying, hey, it's been 25 days since your last order. Make sure not to miss a day. Maybe it's a situation to where you want to send it out a week after to try to get reviews on a new product or something along those lines for social proof. Or we can even get really specific. So you can say, hey, everybody who ordered the joggers, I want to send them out this to let them know that we have some new joggers coming out as we get into spring and summer. We can really do a lot inside of this. So I'm going to jump over to the shipping now, and I'm actually going to take all these orders that you see here, and I'll be able to ship them out for you. Now, before I do so, just want to make sure that there's not any additional questions on the actual ReadyCloud or the orders-based CRM side.
Right. I'm not seeing anything in the Q&A queue just yet.
Perfect. So we'll go ahead and we'll jump into the shipping software. Now, one of the big things that you noticed is I actually came down here, and ReadyShipper is an application that lives on the PC. The reason that I bring this up is because in many situations, people are used to everything being in the cloud. And we actually did this by design. One thing that separates ReadyShipper from everybody else is the speed that you can actually make a label. We can actually make 3 labels a second, and the way we're able to do this is because while we still store all of your data in the cloud, we actually use your PC's local print driver. So here, you can actually, here in just a second, I'll actually print these out, and you can see how quickly it goes. But when you're using the resources of the PC and you're storing all the data in the cloud, it allows you to really be able to print these labels out quickly. We also use a technique called multi-threading to be able to achieve the speeds that nobody else can touch to date. Now, when we first come into the shipping software, it's going to look like this. Obviously, there's going to be a bunch of blank information here, but just to show you, you'll actually come in, you'll set up your inbox. Depending on how you have this set up, you can do all of your paid and unfulfilled. If you run on something like a net 30 or a net 60, you can just do your orders that are currently unfulfilled. Or you can even do things like set up those order views that I showed you in ReadyCloud, and maybe you just need to see your pre-orders. So you can turn your pre-orders on, and you can see that appear right here on the left-hand side as I cut different important filters on. If I don't need them, I can cut them off. And once again, we can customize these based off of the named user. So maybe some people do need to see something like a pre-order where other departments in the warehouse don't need to see them. We can also sync whether it's across the warehouse or coast to coast in real time. So if you need your East Coast warehouse to only ship items out for certain states, then we can break that up versus your West Coast warehouse, so they would only see orders for certain states. We have the ability to really be flexible based off of what your workflow is in the shipping. But we'll go through and do all the expected things when we set up. We're going to set up your shipping accounts. We even have the ability to set up, something like a UPS account multiple times. So if there is a situation to where maybe you're doing fulfillment on behalf of another website, I like to use Nordstrom for an example, because Nordstrom, we know, actually wants you to use their labels and their packing slips, everything along those lines, so that it's branded. And in some scenarios, they even want you to actually do a third-party billing situation. So I'll show you more on that in just a second. But the other thing we do is we actually set up your ship from addresses. So, if you do have multiple warehouses, we can easily use those. Your labels and forms, we have different labels and forms that you can do. Obviously, if you just have a 4x6, we can do that. Now, the label you're currently looking at is an all-in-one label, so it gives you the ability to print out that packing list as well as the label all on one sheet. This is going to be perforated. You tear this off, put it in the box. This is going to be a peel off to actually put it on the box. And then if there's a message associated with it, we'll have a little punch card down here for that. Obviously, all of this can be branded based off of your logo. If you want to do the standard 4x6, that's there as well. We can do the 4x6 packing slip if that's something that you would like to do. And all of this is HTML. So if there is something specific that you need on the label that you don't currently see here, we have the ability to do that as well. Now, the last three items that I showed you, your shipper accounts, your ship from, and your labels and forms, really make something up that we refer to as profiles. Essentially with profiles, what we can do is we can come in and we can do things like, hey, we're going to ship the Shopify profile, we're going to ship it from this warehouse. We're automatically going to apply it to, whatever it may be, pre-orders, East Coast warehouse, West Coast warehouse, and we're going to automatically use the shipping accounts. So if you want to have, USPS and UPS, and maybe USPS is all the items that are under a pound, and UPS is set up for your standard or your expedited shipping, we can automatically apply that. We can use specific labels and forms here. So once again, going back to that Nordstrom example, if this was something to where you needed to do all your fulfillment from your items that came in from something like a Nordstrom or something along those lines, you can do all the branding and stuff here. And we can set up multiple profiles. Now, this is really big for customers who are doing fulfillment on behalf of another marketplace in addition to their own websites, as well as things like a 3PL. Just continuing to go down the line, we can have a full packaging table here to where you can put in your different packaging type, and then we can auto apply those based off of automation rules. And I already showed you this, but just once again, if you needed to go in, add any specific filters and turn these on or off. Now, once we get that set up, then what we're going to do is we're going to come over here and we're going to set up your ship type converter. Now, essentially, all this is, at its easiest form, is going to be a translator. With this, we're just going to say, whatever it is that's on your website, and when that comes in, what does that mean? So I've seen a number of different things on a website, things like free shipping or standard shipping or expedited, or how maybe it says light. However these items come in from your website, we're just going to tell the shipping software exactly what that means, and then we'll have the ability to auto apply those. Now, for demo purposes, you'll actually see that I'm just going to select them so that you can see it happen in real time. But we can do a number of different automation rules along with this. So maybe you need to say, hey, if it's going zone 1 or 2 and it's over a pound, we're going to use USPS priority mail. But if it's going zone 7 or 8 and it's over a pound, then we need to use UPS second day air. We have the ability to set up all of those different automation rules along with things like auto boxing rules. So if there's a scenario to where you know if there's 2 items of the same SKU and you want to automatically split those items into 2 boxes, you'll have the ability to do anything along those lines as well. Now for demo purposes, I'll actually just come in here and I'll select a few of these guys. And you'll actually be able to see, actually I'll take a step back here. So all of these currently have the red exclamation point. One of the best things about our software is we actually have the ability to kind of walk you through and teach you how to use the software, to where if you've never used it before and you see that there is an issue, you can easily come here, double click on that issue. All right, it's an invalid ship type. So you click on that, and it'll actually take you right to the place in the software that you need to address. Now, as you know, standard doesn't mean anything for a UPS ship type. Excuse me. If we go down, you'll actually see that we have some of these that are expedited, some of these that are standard, and really, the ultimate goal here is to come in and just to show you in real time, we can apply the ship type converter, and now you'll be able to see that all of those items that were expedited are now second day air. All of the items that were standard are now UPS ground, and those can be auto applied. Now, if there is a situation, we'll take this guy as an example, to where you want to do things like split a box. You can easily come down, you can grab these, and you can pull them down to make you a 2-box shipment here. Now, you'll see over here on the right-hand side that these items now are 2 boxes, and we can drill into each box to be able to change certain items. So if you need to change the package size or something along those lines for those 2 different boxes, you can do that now. Maybe you need to place the second box on hold and go ahead and ship out the first one. You have full capabilities of really doing all of that quickly, and you're going to find most of the options you use the most right here in all of your quick options. So whether there's anything along the lines of tags or how it's going out, or if you need to do an override weight, you can do all of that here. We work very well with everything from dimensional scanners to USB scales. Any printers work with us, really anything along those lines. Now, I'm just going to go ahead and I'll just select all of these. So we'll come in, I'm going to go ahead and apply that ship type converter. Load all of those guys up. Now you'll see that we don't have any issues with any of these orders. All of those red exclamation points disappeared over here on the left-hand side. And let's see, I'll just grab a few of these items and we'll ship them out. So as I ship these, you'll actually see that the tracking numbers automatically appear. You'll see that if on this one where I actually split the box, there's multiple tracking numbers associated with it. And as all of these items actually get shipped out, then we have a few options on how to print it. So you can print automatically, meaning as soon as there's a tracking number associated, we're going to start printing those out. We can also do things like scan-based shipping. So you could actually go in, you could scan these so that we would have a label printout upon scan. Really flexible based off of what your workflow is. Now I want to take 1 second before I actually ship the rest of these items out and show you how quickly it updates in ReadyCloud. I want to see if there's any questions or give you the opportunity to ask anything that you would like to see in the shipping software specifically before I actually go in and use all of my sample orders up here. So I'll give you just a second to type those in if there's anything. All right. So I'm going to go ahead. I'm just going to grab the rest of these. and ship these out. And you'll also notice that those items that did have tracking numbers disappeared out of your inbox, because at the end of the day, what you want to do is you want to make it so that when your warehouse team comes in, they know that this inbox is what you actually need to ship out. But at the same time, as these tracking numbers populate, you'll actually notice that in just a couple of seconds, they'll start to disappear out of this inbox. Now, just so that you know how quick everything passes through, all of those orders, as you see, are all currently unfulfilled. And now when we refresh them, you can see exactly what's going on. You'll see that all of these orders have now been fulfilled, and all of that information has been passed back to ReadyCloud, which will then also be passed back to aACE, which Brian will show you here in just a second. Now I'll go ahead and I'll just click on Jennifer Madison here. As I said, I split this box up so you can actually see exactly what happened. You can see that here's box number 1, here's box number 2. You can see in the shipping details that there's multiple tracking numbers. And if we go back here, you can actually see, based on a named user, exactly what happened. So you can see that I actually did split these boxes. You can see that I changed the ship type to UPS second day air. And you can see, once again, based on a named user, who did this so that everybody is held accountable. And it really gives you the ability to be able to track based off of the individuals. Maybe somebody's sending something out the wrong ship type, or something else is going on. It gives you the ability to train those employees to ensure that everything is going out just how you anticipated, or if not, who you can go back to and have a conversation with. Here, you'll also see that the dashboard actually updated, so you'll be able to see those total orders there. It will track your sales value. I'm not sure if we had anything in there. You'll be able to see exactly everything that's shipped out, broken down by percentage. You can look back and you can look at this dashboard based off of today, yesterday, the week, all time, year over year. Really gives you the ability to look and see exactly what happened. So now we go back to the shipping software. You see that this inbox is 0. So there's no other orders coming in. However, if orders do come in, then they'll actually populate here, so you still have more orders to ship out for that day. Now, before I pass this back to Brian, I want to make sure that there's not any questions. I'm not seeing any in the Q&A here. So if there are any, please don't hesitate to ask. I want to make sure that we have all of your questions answered before I pass the control back. All right. Well, I'm not seeing anything here. Brian, do you want to take back control and just show everything and how it pushes back into aACE on your end?
Cool. That was a really great demo. Thanks, Brandon. Before we finish, I just want to quickly share my screen again, just so we can see that list of shipments that we looked at the beginning of the demo. So if you remember, we had a bunch of transmitted shipments, but they didn't have any tracking information. The courier service just showed, UPS or expedited, standard, et cetera, et cetera. There was no cost information. They were just marked as transmitted because that's what we had done. We just handed off that information to ReadyCloud for Brandon to demo his portion. But now you can see my screen, and we've got these shipments. As he was shipping those shipments, it was really cool. I was just sitting here watching these records update, and so now you can see what I was seeing. So in this first order, or this first shipment here, you can see it's now UPS ground. We've got a tracking number here, so we can open that up in our web browser, see where it is. We've got cost information, and we can also see that the record status is shipped. So all of these changes happened automatically as Brandon was shipping out those shipments. So he would ship out a shipment, and I would literally just watch it update the courier service, populate the tracking number, populate the cost. I can see the weight information here too. And what we're not seeing here, which we could have seen, I guess maybe the next ReadyCloud demo, we can do some dimensions and things like that. But really the crucial, the essential information we do have, which is, like I said, the courier tracking number and the cost, because now we'll be able to turn that around and properly bill the customer for that. So yeah, that was a really cool demo. Before we wrap up, before I hand this back to Caitlin to kind of finalize the webinar, does anybody have any questions for either Brandon or myself?
I'm not seeing anything in the Q&A queue just yet.
Cool.
All right, I guess that's all for today, but we hope to see you next Tuesday at 12 noon Eastern for the next webinar in this series on shipping and the aACE Pick app. That presentation will go more in depth about shipping from the aACE side of things. So if today's webinar piqued your interest, then I highly recommend coming back to join us next week. Before we wrap up, I'd like to thank all of you for attending, and I would especially like to thank our guest presenter, Brandon, for such a fantastic presentation. Brandon, it's been great having you, and I think our audience has really learned a lot. I'd also like to remind everyone that you will get a link to this recording so you can watch it again or share it with colleagues who aren't able to join us today. If you think of any questions that we didn't cover or you're interested in learning more about the aACE plus ReadyCloud integration, you can always reach out to us at sales@acesoft.com and we'll be happy to get you an answer. You can also sign up for future webinars at acesoft.com/webinars. Thanks again, everyone, and enjoy the rest of your week.